Not long ago, I was listening to the basketball podcast with Chris Oliver, and I'm an avid fan of it. It's a great resource for coaches to learn the game in all aspects. And one in particular, an episode I listened to was with Ross McMains. He's an assistant coach with New Zealand's national team who played in the FIBA 2019 World Cup, and he explained the offensive play style they played with, and I thought it was really interesting. And tried to find some breakdowns online, couldn't find anything. And when I started to watch some of the games, when I found them on YouTube, I thought it was really interesting and kind of wanted to share these edits with you guys and the way they played because it was so interesting and unique. And I know for myself, I was watching a lot of France and Australia, Spain, United States, etc. A lot of teams, but I wasn't watching New Zealand play over the FIBA World Cup, and something I regret now because of just how interesting the way they played and something that I really enjoyed watching. So now I decided to create this edit, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Appreciate you guys watching, and I would definitely recommend you guys going back and listening to Coach McMain's podcast with Chris Oliver on the basketball podcast as well. So to begin, the rules of dominoes. What are they? What are dominoes? What does this mean? When Coach McMain's first spoke about the rules of dominoes, I thought it was really interesting, and he provided a lot of rules for their team, and that was one thing I was able to point out, that there were rules for each of the ways that they wanted to play within transition or in the half court set, etc. So the all-encompassing rules were rules of dominoes, which is basically how they want to get into long closeout situations. So three simple rules they had was, first one was ball don't stop. They want to make quick decisions, right? That 0.5 mentality catch. If you're shooting, you're shooting. If you're looking to attack, you're going. You're not catching and holding and making it and waiting to make a decision. Number two, one can't guard two. I mean, it's self-explanatory. They want to get into number situations. That really attests to their transition offense. And a quote that I'll show you from Coach McMains that he said on the basketball podcast. And then the last one, number three, into space, out of space. Being quick cutting into the paint, and then being just as quick getting out to space. So not lingering in the paint, making a slow cut, staying there. Am I open? Am I not? No, like cut. If you're not open, out to one of the sides and fill a corner or fill a wing. Just finding a space within their offense. So those rules of dominoes, you'll see, really find a place throughout the whole team, whether it's in transition or the half court. Those rules find a way to apply. And of course, like I said earlier, there are rules of dominoes, but there are also rules of transition and in the half court. So there's subsets of rules within the way they want to play in transition and in the half court. They really wanted to score a lot of their points in transition, and I thought this was really interesting. So some of their rules here in transition are, first, ball changes hands, sprint. When they're going up the court, the ball's outletted to a guard, they're trying to push. They're not trying to have guys walking behind the ball and, trying to find their spacing. No, you want to get up the court as quickly as possible and worry about the ball coming after you. Second point was, find the nearest sideline unless you can get behind the defense. So if no one picks you up in transition, they're telling you to go right to the rim. And I find that really interesting because it's a really subtle point that often you see guys, like, oh, I'm going to run corner to corner. I guard someone on defense and now I'm going right to the corner. Well, they didn't say that. They said, you know what, like if you can get behind the defense and you can sprint ahead of the defense, go right to the rim. And it's a really simple concept, but something that often gets misled by teams that are saying, hey, you're going to the corner, you're going to the wing, you're going to the trail, etc. Third point, they really wanted to clear the middle of the floor for the ball handler. So that middle third, they have guys like Corey Webster who can really create and finish some tough contested shots around the rim. So giving him that freedom, giving other players that freedom to really attack downhill, try to get fouls, as well as get downhill and then get the defense to collapse. Then they now have drive and kick opportunities and long closeout opportunities, like said in Dom. So you'll see in the clips, those middle spacing of the floor is wide open for the offensive player to attack the ball, to get downhill and look for driving kicks, and even one more passes from the wing for wide open threes. And then the fourth point, stay with your spacing. So this was one that I really liked in particular. They didn't try to balance the floor in any way. If they had a guard in the trail spot, then the guard stayed in the trail spot, and they played out of that. And they got creative. They had games and practices that really helped them create triggers and different actions based on the spacing. And you can listen to Coach Oliver's podcast to really dive into the different drills that Coach McMahon's and the rest of the New Zealand staff decided to do. And it's really interesting and a really unique way to get into flowing and get that offense moving without even having to call. They just flow right into action. If the guard's in the trail, hey, maybe they go into a get or a zoom. The players really understood how to utilize the spacing that was given to them. So next, this is a great quote that I was able to dig out of Coach Oliver's podcast with Coach McMahon. And Coach McMahon said, running teams are not great at running because they run to specific spacing. We are great at running because we aim to create outnumbered situations relentlessly. So ultimately, it's really about how can we create these long closeout opportunities? How can we create these number advantages? And the rules of dominoes, as well as the transition rules, really create these opportunities for their players. And you'll see shortly in these clips that abiding by these rules really creates these opportunities and really sticks to this quote that Coach McMahon said. Next is their goals in transition, what they were trying to accomplish. So first one is how many outnumbered situations can they create? Like I said before, they're really trying to attack those outnumbered situations and get favorable shots, whether it's a layup or a three. Number two was how many mismatched situations can we create? So when you're running in transition, they have guys in different places in spacing. They're not necessarily going to have the big in the trail every time. They're not necessarily going to have the guard on the wing or the guard in the corner every single time, or a wing in the corner. So that naturally creates mismatched situations for opponents who are so used to having their big, run down with the other big after they get the rebound. That doesn't always happen for New Zealand. Sometimes their big will contest the shot and then release up the court. And now he's stuck in the corner, and they're playing off of a spacing with their big in the corner and their wing in the trail. So now their big is on a wing, and that's a perfect mismatch situation which they can attack. Number three, once a team is back and matched up and they've decided that there's no numbers and no mismatches, they try to dig into what are some triggers or secondary options they can get into to create dominoes. One way they tried to organically create dominoes was try to push the ball below the free throw line extended before 17 seconds hit on the shot clock. So I actually decided to chart this on each of their possessions and see how quickly they got the ball down the court and see what their average time per possession was as well. So you can see I charted the average time per possession and also decided to average up the total average time per possession to really see how quickly they were trying to score and how quickly they were trying to get downhill before that 17-second mark on the shot clock. And you can see pretty accurate to what they were trying to do. If you're able to get downhill, get below that free throw line extended, get that defense to collapse, and now have a driving kick opportunity for either a one more or a wide open three or even a cutter at some times, that really created a great shot for either a layup or a three, which were two of the things that they really wanted to emphasize. You can also see in the next clip that I also was able to create a comparison for them and average out the time per possession for their opponents. See a team like Montenegro, Japan, Turkey, Brazil had some higher time per possession just because of the way they played. Greece, playing with Giannis, was able to push the ball up the court quickly. He was able to get rebounds and really push it and create numbered advantages. to drive and kick for open shots, similar to what New Zealand wanted. But for the sake to compare, the total average time per possession for New Zealand was 9.7 seconds on average. And then if you compare it to the opposition, that was 13 seconds. So they were scoring much more quickly and were playing at a higher pace than other teams.
So next we're going to look at New Zealand's offensive transition. One thing in particular that they actually stat and chart on their bench is bolts. And they also put a number to this in games. They wanted a specific number of bolts per game. And basically, definition of a bolt is, so whoever grabs the defensive rebound, everyone else who's sprinting up the court, they're supposed to be in dead sprints. And those dead sprints up the court, which we'll see in a second, are called bolts to New Zealand. And basically those bolts created, multiple opportunities for them. It'll create mismatches, right? Guys sprint ahead of the ball, and now in defensive transition, you don't really have a man, so guys pick up different people, and that'll create a mismatch and something they can exploit on the offensive possession. It'll also create opportunities for number situations, right? Everyone's sprinting ahead. Some teams naturally, they want to hit the offensive glass hard. Some guys aren't able to recover and try to sprint back in defensive transition. Now you have multiple guys ahead, and it's a numbers advantage. It also allows the offense to get ahead of the ball early so that, maybe there's that easy put ahead for a wide open layup. The defense doesn't get back in time, and there's a wide open layup, an easy gimme early in the shot clock. And then the last thing it does is creates one or two opportunities, really. Not only does it open up the middle third of the court because guys will sprint up the court, get in their transition spots, and defense will match up and create that wide open middle lane of the floor so the ball can get downhill, and sometimes the defense, doesn't collapse and the ball can get right to the rim and score and either get a foul, or the defense collapses and now there's those long closeout opportunities that, falling right into dominoes like we spoke about earlier. So let's get into the clips. This first one here is a great example to start off with. Right here, 4 guys sprinting ahead of the ball with the ball, and it's a 5-on-3 opportunity versus Japan, and just something Japan's not going to be able to guard. Guys are slow getting back, and they're able to finish. Next clip, Fotu does a good job on defense, contests the shot, and you could see what he does here. He got the arrow. He's just going to release up the court, right? Not many players will go and try to grab their own shot and their own miss off the offensive board. So Fotu's just going to release right up the court. And you'll see he'll be able to get behind the defense here. Webster finds him, and it's too late. Wide open layup. Next one, Corey Webster with good hands. And you could see our man here, right? He's ready to sprint ahead of the ball. He actually sprints faster than the ball to create a numbers advantage and get downhill into the rim. There's that numbers advantage. Misses the layup, but still proves the point. And look here. You could barely see Fotu in this screen. I really like this clip because it shows that New Zealand empowered everyone on their team to bolt. They didn't just say, hey, Fotu, you're big. You're not as quick as our wings and guards. Try to stick around the rim and grab rebounds. No, they empowered him. Hey, if you can get it out and ahead of the defense as well, by all means. So you could see here Webster finds him. And Japan does a good job recovering here, but still. And then this last clip, ball stripped. We already have 3 guys. You can see Fotu at the free throw line. Man just at the top of the key. And then free throw line extended. And it's a 3-on-1. Might as well just be a layup. So next, we're going to look at another thing that New Zealand did to try to create those offensive transition opportunities, and that's called clapbacks. Some of you may already know what this is, but for example, all your friends are looking at you, right? And they're making fun of you, and everyone's laughing at you. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to have that quick response back at them, right? To make fun of that person who was making fun of you. So now that all the attention turns on to that one person, aka a clapback. So what New Zealand was trying to do with this is, if the ball scored on them, They wanted to get the rebound out of the net by the closest person to it and immediately push the ball back down against the opposing team and try to score as quickly as possible. I mean, one of the things that they did was they wanted to get the ball below the free throw line extended before 17 seconds on the shot clock. So they're really trying to get the ball ahead. They got their guys running the court, bolting down the court as the ball attacks. So we'll see it here. They create a transition opportunity even out of the ball being scored against them. So let's look at it here. Ball scored, ball's immediately rebounded, and they're pushing ahead. They find their guard, the outlet's going, and they're able to get right downhill in the middle third of the court because it's wide open from their guys sprinting to their spots. There it is, ball's rebounded, and again, their man's able to get behind the defense from bolting down the court for an easy layup and score right back at them. And lastly here, pushing ahead and scores again. Like, the offense usually takes a big, deep breath. Yes, we scored. Okay, we're good. Let's take a second. And New Zealand doesn't allow them to have that second. They keep the pressure on and immediately attack them while they're resting on their laurels in a sense. Next, we're looking at New Zealand spacing in transition, right? Pretty interesting because, like I said, they didn't have set points for anyone. Guards could be in the trail spot, bigs could be in the wings, and vice versa. There was no real set points. They had positions to where they could run to where people could run to in transition, but didn't necessarily say, hey, you're a 4 or 5, you're going to either run in the trail or the wing. They didn't give specific positions in transition to their players. So we'll see it here how, in particular, the bigs being in different positions on the floor in transition really caused a problem for opponents. And this is actually one of my favorites. So you can see it here. They get the ball. They're trying to score quickly as usual. Brazil does a good job actually denying that, so they have to walk it up the court. And you saw it here on the weak side here. They have 3 guys spaced in the corner, wing, and slot. And now their big in this situation actually sprints to the opposite corner. So New Zealand does a great job of really teaching how to utilize different spacings on the floor based on where their teammates are at. So here, big is actually in the corner, creates a step-up opportunity. Webster uses the step-up and now open side, roll and score. We're attacking again. You could see again, Fotu this time, running to the corner. He's going to have an opportunity for a step up, and because they empower him to pop and be a big that can shoot threes, he pops. And now this immediately, just a great opportunity. Like I said, now this creates dominoes, right? One more, they're attacking long closeouts, and this is just a great cut. Just a really overall great possession because they're bigs running to the corner, keeping the defense in a weird position and not used to covering a big in the corner, and now flowing out of that. Next clip, they're pushing in transition. You can see, right? Felicio's not used to having to guard someone on the weak side and being in, right? Usually he's either covering someone in the dunker spot, which is a much shorter distance to cover, and then rotate over for a block, or he's covering a big running the trail position. He's guarding a ball screen or a handoff, or contesting a shot at the rim if the ball gets downhill. Here, he's got to be able to cover Low here, who's a great shooter as a big, and he's just not used to rotating out of that position. Creates a wide open shot, and he drills it. Next one here, we're attacking, just getting downhill, same thing. Fotu spaces his corner this time. Big's helping in a lot more than he normally would, right? I'm not really, in my opinion, the ball wasn't beat. He was still fine. He got deep into the paint, but the big's helping in because he really wants to block that shot and grab that rebound like he's supposed to do. Driving kick. Now Fotu's flowing, right? Just being a versatile big like they empower him to be. Running into a step-up screen. He rolls, there's the tag, and now they're just flowing and cutting. Just creates great opportunities. They're attacking again. This time the big does run in the trail, right? But just running the floor, empowering their guys to running those spacing positions, whether it's the corner, the wing, occasionally the dunker spot when they have 2 5s in, and then the trail as well, and just attacking that. And last one here. Now they're running it even for a big, right? Big's in the wing. This is their 5 with this lineup, and they're able to run a quick zoom action, right? Dribble handoff, and for their big, Felicio, you can see Felicio here. He goes under like every other big normally would because he's never been in that situation where a true big is running off a zoom action. So he goes under and is just not used to guarding a big that's one empowered to shoot the 3 and 2 that has that capability of being on the wing and now being the person coming off a handoff. Next, we're going to take a look at New Zealand's triggers and secondary action, right? They don't initially get any of the bolts up the court or any space to attack the middle third of the court, so they got to have some different action to get into while the defense is still, fresh, trying to get sorted and into the half court. So to start us off, this was one of my favorites. I saw Half Court Hoops actually put this out. Awesome action for Corey Webster. You'll see the double back screen here. You got a dribble, actually a get with Fotu. Ty Webster gets downhill. Not only that, he has Corey Webster in the corner for a shot. So he's looking to create for himself, getting downhill from that get with Fotu, or hitting Corey Webster in the corner for an open 3. Next clip. Same play. And I just want to show the different options they have off of this. So you'll see Ty Webster's attacking downhill this time, and you notice Fotu on the right side of your screen. He's actually going to go run into a screen-to-screener action with the first screener in that double back screen. So Ty's going to attack downhill and actually get his shot off and score. But if Ty were to get beaten to the spot, he not only has the weak side with his brother, right, coming off the double back screen, he also has a man filling behind him. So I'll let it run through. There's the screen. He was actually going to fill right behind. So now this is a great counter for this play, right? Teams start to jump on it. You run it a few times, and with Corey Webster, you got to have different plays to get him open because he's definitely a point that the defense wants to take away. So Corey Webster takes one step towards the baseline like he's going to go get that double back screen. Fotu keeps the ball on that get, and a wedge screen in the middle of the floor for a shot. Next one, easy, right? Simple plays to get them shots is just getting a little butt screen to get Webster downhill. They have a big that they empower to pop, and now they're in dominoes attacking the long closeouts. Here we are again, little weave action, false action just to get the defense moving, and then a middle wedge screen for Corey Webster, one of their elite scorers, to get a shot off again. Here, rub into a dribble handoff or a zoom for a shot. Another one here, pass ahead and chase it to get for a shot, who Corey Webster's just, he did so well in this. It was really impressive to watch him. And again, some false action into a middle ball screen, slot ball screen for an easy shot. And these are just many different ways for them to get some shots off, to get some of their better players shots like Corey Webster, and really attack the defense while it's still trying to get organized in the half court. And of course, New Zealand's not always going to play in transition. They're going to have to play in the half court against some teams at times. So I decided to add some common sets that they run just to show you guys what they're doing in the half court as well. So this first play here, I'm going to pause it to show you the set. You got a pin down on each side of the floor. You have the wing standing somewhere near the free throw line, and you have Corey Webster running off one of the pin downs. So whichever side he chooses to use, that wing at the free throw line is going to follow him out and fill that same corner that Corey Webster ran out on. So you'll see here Corey Webster uses the pin down on the right side of the floor, so that wing's going to go and fill the right corner. And this is just a great play to really get Corey Webster attacking downhill. and potentially opening up some shots for other people. Here, for example, is a different option off of this play, right? There's no advantage off the pin down, so there's an immediate flare screen for Ty Webster, and he's able to catch that pass and score. Here, same play, but the flare's not open for Ty. So now they run into a slot ball screen, and they're just flowing from here. Something I really loved about watching New Zealand was they were able to really flow and play together really well. And it was impressive to see because more often than not, when the initial action is over, teams sometimes look around and they're like, what's next? What do I do? But these guys were able to answer that question every time and say, okay, I'm doing this or doing that, and I'm going to go play two-man game with this guy. They mixed it up, and they were really able to flow and get shots with each other just based on reads rather than calling another set. Here, Isaac Fotu is actually a elite level post scorer as well. This is something Coach McMahon's mentioned in the podcast with Coach Oliver, and they rewarded him for being the player who he is in the post. And they told him anytime he felt he could take his defender on in the post, then by all means just take your man down to the block and post him up and we'll get you the ball. Here they actually try to take advantage of that in this after timeout and get Fotu a touch in the post and a chance to attack and play out of the post himself where he's best. Now here's the same play as before, but Corey Webster's on the ball. So you'll immediately know this is going to be a different variation of the play. So Corey will actually go play two-man game with Fotu on the weak side, and they just go flare, rescreen, and now they're playing off of this, and you have two of your best players playing two-man game together. And something good's just obviously going to come out of that. Here we are, we're looking for Fotu again here. Little back screen to get him a post up. It's not there, and they're flowing. They're creating shots for each other. Corey Webster's on the ball here. There's that flare. Here comes the rescreen. And again, just playing, making reads, allowing for Corey Webster to operate and make reads for himself. And lastly, a little false action into a Spain pick and roll. Love Spain pick and roll, just something I wanted to add in here that I saw once or twice. They missed the layup, but still some great action here that they ran in the half court. And now here you'll see a table I actually was able to create. As I did this project, I had some restrictions to create this, but I charted each shot attempt based on some restrictions. I didn't include any offensive rebounds and then shots just because one, the shot clock resets to 14 seconds, so players are more inclined to try to score quickly and rush up shots that don't end up being super great shots. And also because the shot clock was reset to 14 seconds, so therefore I couldn't count it into my average time per possession table, which was earlier on in the video. So this is just to show the disparity in shots. What are they trying to get? Obviously, threes and layups. Just something you could probably get off of Synergy, but at the time I didn't have Synergy, so really just wanted to show what they were trying to do here. And then lastly here, this is just a table showing you ways they got their shots. So I wanted to figure out what are some of the most common ways they got their shots. And you can see 35.1% of their shots were created off of a ball screen, dribble handoff, pitch, or a rub, right? And then you can read the rest of the numbers here. I made up these categories just based on what I was seeing in the game and combined some just based on different ways that a ball screen and a handoff affect the game. In my opinion, they're pretty similar. So I put them together with these categories, with my restrictions, of course. It's definitely not the perfect way, and I'm plenty open to suggestions on ways to do things differently, but this is the way I did it. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm pretty accessible on social media, and I just thank you guys again for watching this. Really enjoyed doing this project, and I hope you guys liked it.